We're live on the Car, Sim and Race Driver Show and a special introduction from Valerio Gallo.
Okay. Hey guys.
Welcome. I have to say, this is the best show I could ever possibly think could ever happen. We have the Magnificent Seven here on our show tonight. We have Mikail Hizal, Rodgers Racing, Kireth Kart, Valerio Gallo, Baptiste Beauvoir, and Deadeyedelboy. What an incredible lineup. Welcome to you all, and thank you very much for coming on the show. Now, as it's the Christmas special, I thought we have to turn this thing on its head and say, right, let's get started with some funny questions now. So I'm opening up the questions to everyone in the chat. So wherever you're watching from across the globe, put your questions in capitals, and I will do my best to ask those questions to the relevant guest that we have here. But we also have, I've also been saying to the guys here, you can ask each other questions. And I think this is where it could get very interesting. Now, I know that Valerio and Mikail and Baptiste are very good friends and have lots of banter. So perhaps we should ask Mikail first. What question would you like to ask Valerio?
Okay, here's the first question, okay? Valerio.
All right. Yeah, I'm here.
How are you doing?
I'm good.
Thank you.
That's a good question.
Grazie.
Grazie.
Okay, maybe I should ask the questions. Okay, then, the one. Now, one of the things, of course, just seven nights ago, Valerio, you were in an incredible place. You were at the FIA awards ceremony. Now, what was it like? Tell us, what was it like? What were the highlights of that?
I mean, guys, it's like the start of a magic for me because I've never been like in such a context before. So for me, even the first time, like wearing some elegant clothing, so for such a important ceremony. And yeah, what can I say? I mean, everything was so magic, was so beautiful, and obviously I wanna still I would like to still celebrate, but yeah, it was just an instant that I had to leave, but I hope for next occasions, of course. And yeah, I want to still thank everybody who put their efforts to make it live, because considering the last year wasn't possible for the COVID, obviously. So this year it was possible, and yeah, it was already a pleasure and also a honor to be there. And yeah, what can I say? It was such a beautiful show.
Fantastic. And what was the highlight other than receiving that award? I know you're saying you were trying to see Max Verstappen. I mean, did it seem a little bit surreal when you were there and to see all these stars of motorsport, and you had won your right to be there as well? What was like the most kind of exciting moment of the night?
Well, let's say obviously for me as I grow watching the guys since I was a child, and so obviously the F1 drivers, who are the most relevant guys of the FIA in general. And yeah, obviously you see Max Verstappen. Obviously there wasn't Lewis at the show. Otherwise, probably we could have also had an opportunity to meet him. But also, let's say Valtteri, and yeah, unfortunately there wasn't so many guys attending the show. But yeah, you still had so many important members from the FIA, like Stefano Domenicali, who I had the opportunity to talk to, and also Jean Todt, who's leaving the role of FIA president. And for me, it was, let's say, the highlight of the show, because he's been such a an element for the F1, considering his career in the Ferrari team as a team principal, and also for giving his contribution to the World FIA. So yeah, he's such a nice person. It's sad to see him leaving, but of course, it's a matter of time in the end. So, and I want to still thank everybody, every member of I met, because it was pretty hard to try meet everybody. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I recall probably the moment with let's say Jean Todt, or the tribute to the FIE legends as well.
Mhm.
So yeah, I think that was like the most special moment for me of the show.
Fantastic. Now, I was going to ask you, Kireth, because you've raced with a lot of these guys before, and so I know you've seen videos with these when he's been racing in different lobbies in GT Sport. What would you like to ask any one of our guests here on the show?
Yeah, so I've raced in the same lobbies, but as I was saying in our pre-race chat, I'm not really playing the same game because I'm nowhere near as fast. So the question I have really is, I think, and also maybe for a lot of people watching, we raced at a much lower standard than what you guys do. And I was watching, I don't know if anyone's seen it, there was an interview that Max Verstappen did with David Coulthard and Jos Verstappen the day after he won the championship. And there's a bit where he talks about sim racing. So Coulthard asked him, what do you do to relax? And he said, I don't relax, I do sim racing. And he said, I really enjoy doing sim racing because the guys that I race in sim racing, and he mentioned like other Team Redline drivers, are of a higher standard. So he's very confident and quick in a real world car. But when he gets to sim racing, these guys do it all the time. And he does a sim racing to constantly challenge himself. He finds a higher bar in sim racing. So kind of F1, he's right at the top, whereas in sim racing, he has to push himself to get faster. So you guys are right at the top in GT Sport. I want to know, how do you push yourself? How do you push each other? Is it a case that you really look at each other's kind of ghosts and you see what people are doing at certain corners? Is it more like, you really maximize where you can get to with the game and it's more about racecraft? Because for people like us watching, there's so many levels above us. We're not at the pinnacle. So what's it like at the pinnacle? How do you improve? How do you push each other? Because even people like Max Verstappen are saying they look up to people like you, because you are the fastest people in the world. You are aliens. So how do you improve?
By Mikail, I guess. We have a great teacher here. As for myself, I personally learn a lot of things from Mikail. He was
Well, same for me. So, I mean, he's been my main inspiration through all this time. So, why do you look like that? Like, I mean, I'm saying something true. It's the truth. Like, you don't have to look at me like that.
Okay, well, Mikail, what's it like to have all these people looking up to you? Like, you're kind of like a godfather of GT Sport sim racing. What's that like for you? You must be really happy when Valerio wins the championship, because it's like, he's been looking up to you. It's like almost like a protege or something. How does that feel?
Well, of course, I feel honored when I hear like one of the fastest players in the world like saying that to me. But in the end, I'm just 22 years old, so I want to enjoy my youth and not feeling like a granddad. Nah, but what is it? I mean, for myself, it's also like the same. In order to be fast, you always need to drive against the fastest players all the time, so that you can always see like what is it, at which area you're still lacking compared to the others. And once you try to analyze the drivings, then you can basically try to analyze it and then try to use it for yourself. And once you did that, yeah, you can always like try to optimize the results in it and try to achieve the best out of possible in the end, in my opinion. But yeah, it's also like the same here. Like I'm also like part of Team Redline, so I can also chat with the other guys as well, and also see Max Verstappen and the other iRacing squad like always like talking to each other once they're like trying to prepare themselves for a special event. And for me, it's also like pretty amazing to see it. Like for us fans, we are like, oh, during this weekend there's like a Formula 1 race going on. But let's say just right before a session is about to start, or once a session is over, he is always like chatting with the iRacing squad, like trying to help them as much as possible. And for me, that's really fascinating to see, because if I was a Formula 1 driver, I would try to, focus on myself, try to be, in my own room, try to relax and clearing out my mind. But he still like tries to help us, and he is my a lot of respect for me. Yeah.
Fantastic. Now, Deadeyedelboy, you're looking very relaxed here in your rig.
Yeah.
What question would you like to put to any one of our great guests here as well?
I know. I'm spoiled for choice, but I do actually have a question. It's been something I never thought I would actually get to ask the actual person involved, but here we are. Might as well shoot my shot, because I'm not just into sim racing. I'm a massive sports fan, and really just because of competition. So if it was like put two snails down, I want to try and pick a winner. That it's, and I want to beat somebody at it. I might not win, but I just love the competition. So that's what kind of draws me into things. So sim racing is perfect for that. You can do it from your home, and it's so competitive. Now, I really got into watching GT Sport the World Finals when I seen Mikail race against Igor Fraga, because it was a real battle. It was a head-to-head. It felt like something was on the line. That was the first sort of time I thought sim racing can be like that. You can just be watching it, at home, and it was like proper sports. Now, there was an incident between Mikail and Igor Fraga in a very important race, and the aftermath of it, they got interviewed, and you could tell Mikail wasn't particularly happy with what had happened. I think most people in the chat will probably remember there was an incident where Igor Fraga decided to let off the brakes at a very high speed part of Spa, almost causing a major incident, but it worked in his favour. Now, afterwards, Mikail understandably wasn't happy. I was sitting in the house watching this, absolutely raging. It felt like the Max Lewis situation. It felt like an injustice had been done. Me being a Lewis fan, it just felt like something like that. Now, I want to know, Mikail, what happened after the camera stopped rolling between you and Fraga? Did you talk again? Did you speak? Have you made up since? Is everything good now, or is there still that little bit of, just some unfinished business there?
The famous New York incident, huh? No, what can I say? The reason why I was really upset about the outcome of it was like, the thing is, I couldn't go to the left-hand side, because if I went to the left-hand side, I would have got a track limit penalty in game, which I could have never avoided from it. And you can't really go to the right-hand side after Eau Rouge, because there's literally like grass or the barrier over there. And then, of course, like when I was driving, I was also like in the zone or so, also pretty focused there. And once he did that, I didn't really expect him doing that actually. So I was, of course, pretty emotional. Maybe it has been shown in the stream. I don't know. But the problem afterwards was like I had to save fuel by a lot, because I was already down by a lap actually, and I didn't want to run out of fuel. So that's why I had to sacrifice my pace. Let's say the chances to overtake Igor on track. So that's why I was also a little bit furious about it, and also about the stewards not telling us that this incident is going to be investigated. Like they only investigated it after we kind of like made it public that this kind of thing kind of happened. And of course, like, I mean, there were so many emotions going on in my head. But But after that, I wasn't really putting the blame on ego. I was actually putting the blame on myself, because I was like, because of me not really practicing that much, this thing kind of happened, because I was always lazy to practice the strategies, because I was always like, okay, there's only one strategy you can practice for, and then just try to practice that, but not even thinking about that there may be some other strategies as well. And yeah, because of me always being like that, I lost the race, like a person. And that's what I tried to avoid afterwards. But the next event was the Salzburg World event, so of course I tried to speak to Ego there. And even before that, there was also like some, how shall I say it, some fan wars going on, like what you can see between the Verstappen and the Hamilton fans on Twitter.
Yeah.
And I also tried to clear up that, hey guys, it's not really fair what you're doing there on social media. And there on Salzburg, I tried to speak with Igor, and then from there onwards, we are basically all good now. So what happened in the past is in the past, and we can always try to learn from it. I mean, of course, like we're still like battling for the championship, for the title, but I always try to be all good with all the guys outside of the track, because of course all of our goal is to win the championship in the end, and I can respect that. But I think for me personally, outside of the track, we should still be like all good, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, so we are basically all good now.
That's good.
Fantastic. Well, it's great to get such an honest answer. And don't worry, I don't think the FI are watching. I'm sure it's all good here. But no, it's great because hopefully, in a sport like this, it is possible to be friends out with it all, isn't it? Even though it can get very frustrating and difficult at these when these things happen. So here's a question that will lighten up the mood, I'm sure. One of the questions was from Jerry, and he says, "What would you all like for Christmas? What would be on the Christmas list? It could be tech, it could be anything. I'll start with you, Kireth. What would you like?"
The Christmas tree is back here. I don't have any presents on the Christmas tree. It's getting late, so I might not be getting anything. But I don't mind. I'm really, really grateful for, this year, and kind of, the channel growing so much, and making good friends and connecting more people like Carter's with, and blurring live stream stuff I do in the real world in terms of racing and online. So I'm just very, very grateful about. It's been a great year for sim racing, and it's been really cool to see on the GT side, the World Tour stuff still happening, even through COVID and whatnot, and then they're making it happen. And we get the webcams now, so we can see the emotion, during those key moments. And yeah, I'm just really grateful. If I had to choose something, I know what I want now. I want better internet, because I've recently moved and my internet's now shocking. So I'll take that from Santa, please. Take some 5G internet from Santa.
Yeah. Well, it certainly helps, isn't it? Because internet's that's the one thing that you need to be able to count on, especially in sim racing. Now I'll go to Mike Rodgers, because you've been waiting there very patiently in the background there with Dexter. It was here. What would you like for Christmas?
If I could take it away from sim racing for just a minute, a bit more of a personal note. I've spent the last few months trying to find a house, trying to get a house together and move in with my fiance. And just basically put down the fundamental building blocks of the next sort of 10, 15 years of my life, Yeah. So, we've been to be honest, I haven't been on the sim much recently because of this. So, for Christmas, I would like the contracts to my new house signed, sealed and delivered. And then I would like to be able to start saving up to eventually marry my fiance. Those are the two most important things in my life right now. So, to take it away from sim racing, that is what I would like. Nice and simple. Not much to ask for, is it? I've got the cash. Let's just let it happen.
Yeah, that's it. Well, I'm sure it'll happen. I'm sure it will. And some good questions there. Good requests. Now to Baptiste Beauvoir. What would you like for Christmas?
I really don't know.
I know what you're going to say. It's that trophy. You want that trophy from Valerio. Next year, you want your name on it.
You mean this one? But I think this one is from the Olympic Virtual Series, and it happened only one time actually. So I don't know if they're gonna repeat it one day. Let's see. But actually, about your question, I really don't know. I don't know. I can't answer about that. We will see. We will see.
And okay, then I'll
What about
rephrase
the
the question.
baguettes?
Yeah,
What?
if you want.
Yeah. Do you have
For
any
any
questions?
problems, just buy a baguette and that's it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the thing. Now, Valerio, what questions would you like to ask to our guests here? Anything on mind that you've been wanting to say to them for a wee while?
Okay, so what would you like for Christmas, Mick?
Well,
Really?
as I'm, as,
A race on
Thanks,
Spa
mate.
with Igor again.
oh, nah, but as I'm not celebrating Christmas,
Right.
there's actually nothing I want. So,
It's all-
but I mean, right now it's a little bit busy for me as I have to kind of prepare myself for the examinations and also submit the assignments. So yeah, a little bit tough. Weeks coming ahead.
Well, I'm sure you'll get that. You'll pass those exams with flying colours. If you put in the same effort as you do with your sim racing, then I'm sure it won't be far away. But, now, one of the things I was going to say, how do you feel when you go into lobbies or just go for a fun race? Do you find that you're always, there are any drivers perhaps that do give you a good battle, or do you find that before long you're getting up to the top again when you race, say online on a GT Sports kind of daily race? Do you ever get a chance to do some daily races in your spare time? I'll put that to Valerio.
Okay. Actually, let's say when I have to consider the World Finals and all the World Series races, I didn't spend as much time as I wanted in the daily races. I knew like some guys, most of the guys were doing for example, the last to first challenges, which is actually what I wanted to do as well. But yeah, just to have a little bit of fun and relaxing time. But yeah, let's say this year probably I had to still be focused. So yeah, I hope at least for GT7 to do that. But yeah, in the end, I can say that when I was like in the past years participating in the FIA, I was doing daily races much more. And yeah, let's say for me it was it was a way to start behaving with the other guys, because obviously you can find many good guys and bad guys. So for me it was like a test to be to try adapt to myself to the other guys, to the people I have around, and also to my driving style. Yeah, that's what I wanted to do, and I did, because I learned a lot by staying on the track with other people, because I could be ready for every situation that could happen. And yeah, let's say for this year I didn't do as many daily races, but I hope at least to do new ones for GT7, and also let's see how it's gonna look like.
Fantastic. Now we've got a very good question by Binny here. He says, how many hours do you practice play per week? And I'll put that first to Kireth, actually. I'll ask you that first, then I'll come around to it.
I thought, Villa, that's a really interesting answer, because it made me feel like we're kind of like almost sparring partners, like boxers, like prize fighter boxers. They'll spar people in training, and they'll kind of practice and beat up these people. So it makes me feel good that when you aliens are going from the back, you're kind of sparring with us, and we're trying our absolute best to race with you fairly, and it's giving you practice, which is kind of cool, because maybe we're like contributing a little bit to kind of racecraft or difficult situations and whatnot. We're not just like getting absolutely slaughtered, which is quite nice. And how much do I practice? I don't really have the luxury of practice, and it's one of these things because I pretty much all the time I'm playing Gran Turismo Sport, I'm streaming. So So at most, I'll have like 15, 20 minutes before I go on the stream. And I think that makes it more exciting for the viewers because they can see me progress during the course of a stream. So normally I stream for about 3 hours. That's like 6 daily races. And at the beginning, I might be rusty, but by the end, we're battling for high positions. You might have a better quality time. But I don't really get a lot of practice. And I think it might be one of the things that perhaps surprises, some people watching is that I don't think, people at the higher end G Sport actually really do a whole lot of practice actually. From the people I speak to, it's kind of once you have that base knowledge and skill, you don't need to be constantly practicing, I find.
No, that's a good answer. Yeah. So as you say, you don't have much time to practice, but when you do your streaming it out live, so you're having to get to learn as you go. But you're very, very quick. So no, it's good to see.
Not relative to Mikail and Valerio in that teeth, no. Not relatively.
No, it's all. I'll go on to the next question. Now, here's a very good question from James Clark. He says, I want the 91 wins on GT Sport, but I'm struggling. So I've been deliberately lowering my DR to make it easier. Am I a cheat? Good question.
Yes.
If you PG Motorsport, that is also count.
It just says James Clark.
Okay.
So, but yes, it's a good question. And maybe a controversial one. What do you think, Mikail? What do you think?
I mean, personally, I don't really know because I also used to hunt for the trophies back then when I was little. So I can kind of like understand your point of view. So I mean, as long as you don't, crash into the other drivers or making their races bad, I think it's okay. I mean, as long as you get 91 wins and get the trophy, I think that's okay. But after that, you should really try to improve on your driver rating and be on the top split at one day.
Yeah, no, that's always the aim. Now, I'll quickly go to Baptiste. What would you like to see in Gran Turismo 7? And I'm going to I'll open it up as well to all our other distinguished guests as well as to, are you going to be in the new intro video on GT7? I wonder how many of you might actually be on that. But to Baptiste, what would you like to see in Gran Turismo 7?
A lot of things, actually. A lot of things, because if we take, for an example, GT6, Polyphony had some great idea that they didn't include in GT Sports, and that's sad to see that. And personally, when I saw that they will do the game on the PS4 too, I was not really happy because obviously that means we're gonna not have the game that we want. I mean about the track, the cars, everything, etc., etc. And but what I want to see on the game first is, of course, a great online mode. First of all, I think it's really important for all the players, even in 2022. Today, we have to have a very good online mode with more spots on the track. Actually, we can only race again 20 players, which is not enough in my opinion. I would like, for example, to have the same than Assetto Corsa 40. That will be awesome. And a great Meteor, of course, for doing some very fun endurance race with some guys, some people, some friends. That will be awesome because that is exactly what we cannot see in GT Sport. Actually, we can only do a 2 hours race, I think, and it's over. And yeah, I'm really focused about the online mode first of all, not the career mode or something like that. But the career mode is of course very important for all the players because GT7 for me is a nostalgic game about what I see with GT4 thing, GT5, GT6. So it's that's gonna be a good game, I think, but not a perfect one in my opinion. We're gonna regret a lot of things, but we can be really surprised, I think, 2,
Mm.
and I'm really looking forward to play on it on March. And just I will not say my final opinion before test the game. That's useless. But about what I see, there is a lot of thing I think to improve. I really hope they will do it. But GT7 looking like a very nice game, nostalgic game, and this is exactly what people and drivers want in priority. We can see, for an example, the comeback of some track like Deep for Race, Daytona, and also Apricot Hill, I think.
Mhm.
And that's really nice because there was some really fun track from the last Gran Turismo, and that is actually a good point that they decide to make to include this track again. And but for me, it's really focused on the online mode. Actually, I'm really looking forward to have a better online mode than GT Sport. Actually,
Yeah, fantastic. Now, that was a great answer. And now here is a great question by Gary Gilmore. It is, what would be the best 3-player team of GT Sport YouTubers? And I'll put that to you, Kireth. You can start us off.
Firstly, I agree basically 100% with all of your points. I think part of the issue is that because GT5 and GT6 are not backwards compatible on PS4, there's no easy way for people to play those broader GT nostalgic experiences. So they're having to build it into GT7. And the very first videos I made on GT7, there's hundreds of thousands of people that watched them, were about having bigger grids and having endurance races, because ultimately Gran Turismo just probably won't be able to compete on the pure simulation side compared to PC simulations because they don't have the same kind of architecture. So yeah, we'll see how it is. I don't know if something's going to come out of the bag. I know probably Mikail and Valerio might be consulting these kind of things, but there's a lot of people that want single player stuff, but there's a hell of a lot of people that want that multiplayer experience as well. So we'll see how it goes. In terms of top 3 YouTubers, I think it's very impressive when people are able to both race at the highest level and also engage with chat and also kind of, have a portion of their brain that they're engaging with chat and chatting away and stuff like that. I know that Mikail, you stream sometimes. So I'd have to put Mikail in there, probably number 1. I think Tijani is someone that is he's incredible in the way that he translates what he's doing to the viewers. So I'd definitely put Tijani in there. I know that he's doing a bit more ACC now, but he races right at the top level and he's someone that races part-time. And I think maybe controversially, I think I'd put Key25 in there because he also races pretty much at the top level and he's streaming. So he's also reading the chat, he's thinking about how to deal with chat. He's also dealing with a lot of stuff in chat. So that would be my dream team, Mikail, Tijani and Key25. And I don't think there's a YouTuber team that could beat that, to be honest. If anyone thinks so, let me know. But Invincible.
Mike, you put your finger up there.
Yeah, I was watching, if I could take it to ACC for a second, I was watching Dalkin's stream a couple of weeks ago, and he actually mentioned that if him, Fatal Vasca, and Key put a team together, that would be the ultimate league racing team on ACC, because all 3 of them are quite angry. So it could be like a Rage Incorporated sim racing team. So I reckon, with regards to ACC, that would be good. But yeah, GT, I'd be inclined to agree with Kireth, actually. I think that would be very interesting. Although I did think the double streams that Kireth did with Rory were actually really entertaining, actually. And I think you should do a few more of them, if you can.
Noted.
Yeah.
But yeah, Key, Dalkin, Fatal Vasca, ACC, Rage Incorporated, let's make it happen.
Yeah, absolutely. We need to get them on the show, and then we can ask them again, get them to commit online.
On that point, there's a few people that are in my community that are really fast. Some of the guys here might have heard. I'd be interested if you're on the radar. People like Jack Balding, I can see in the chat. Oscar Hunter is now with Distinct. Nathan Maximum, who I race in real life in karting. NM1M, who's with Vanquish Esports. These guys I would put in like the up and coming kind of group. And I don't know if they're on your radar. If you see these people, a lot of them are still at school, so they're kind of racing around school. Some of them, Nathan's younger than me. Are these guys on your radar? Are you aware of them getting faster, seeing them on the leaderboards, racing them more and more? Because they seem like a kind of up and coming generation. I'm interested to know if they're on, if you kind of, you're aware of them.
Do you want to put that to Mikail and Valerio?
I think, on the last couple of months or even the last year, we have seen so many new players enter the scene of being, being at the top level of GT Sport. But in my opinion, like, if you're fast in a time trial event, it doesn't really mean that you're also fast. Well, let's say, okay, I don't want to put it wrongly here, but being good enough for top split, because in my opinion, there are like so many players who can be pretty fast over one lap, because you can always restart the lap if your lap didn't went well. But for, let's say, if you are having a race, then you really need to show your skills when it really matters, and that's why you can basically see, let's say, the good players from the very good players. However, it always puts a smile on my face seeing so many new players showing up out of nowhere and also basically competing at the top. And it's also nice to see that, actually, to have so many amount of different players being up there. And there are also like so many young players as well entering the scene. So I'm also already looking forward to see them competing, let's say, for the FIA Championship, maybe on the next game, like on GT7 maybe.
Fantastic. Sorry, Kireth, were you going to say? Did you have something to add to that?
No, it's a very cool answer, because I think we'll remember GT Sport for these iconic World Tour finals and different strategies and people all over the world. And it's like an iconic bunch of people that you've been racing together, and it's going to be. I remember like when Carlos Sainz was coming into F1, Max Verstappen, Leclerc, these kind of younger drivers. It's interesting to see how they blend in and the dynamic. And I think a lot of people are going to be really looking forward to seeing kind of the more experienced drivers mixing it with these, less experienced drivers.
Exactly.
It's going to be very exciting.
Yeah. And just while we're asking that, do you think there's anything that GT Sport could do to make it easier for kind of newer drivers to kind of learn their trade or learn how to go quicker? Do you think there's more things they could perhaps do in the game to kind of train the drivers to learn their lines and to go a bit faster? I mean, I know there are the kind of circuit experience and things like that, or do you think there's anything that could be more effective at kind of guiding young drivers to be better quality drivers? I'll put that to you, Valerio.
Okay.
Oh, sorry. So, yeah.
Right.
No, okay, go ahead.
Okay. So, well, what can I say? Yeah, of course. As in Gran Turismo, like, you don't have so many, let's say, true guys that could help you to get faster, or at least, let's say, fast as the top split guys. But what can I say is that for sure it's a fact that there are so many guys doing coaching on the game for helping the guys getting faster. But let's say, in my opinion, and in the end, for how it is GT Sport, is pretty a basic game in the end, because like the physics, even like if you don't play for such a long time, which it might be the case, for example, of Mikail or some other guys, it's like in the end you are still there, and because it's all about your driving style. Even though you have to memorize, for example, the racing lines, the braking points, and the car's behavior, let's say, which might take you some minutes in the end. But let's say it's a type of game that only allows you to have one driving style, which is like a smooth driving style, and it's not like, for example, in many other simulators, for example, like racing, or also Assetto Corsa. For example, Assetto Corsa is a game where you have to be very aggressive on the inputs. Also, R Factor, especially, and you have many many more ways to express your driving style while racing. And for me, in the end, even considering that GT Sport is accessible through the pad, you can be also competitive with the pad, which it was my case when I started doing the FIA back in what was it, in 2019, like in the first months of 2019. But yeah, I started with the pad, and I was still, let's say, I wasn't the fastest driver, of course, but I was pretty much there. Let's say I was seeing the potential. So it didn't took so much to learn. Let's say it's just about the dedication, of course. But I think that if it happened on some other simulator, like the one I mentioned before, probably could take you a little bit longer, because it's much more of a, let's say, of a complex game instead of GT Sport in this case.
Now to you, Mikail, as you were eagerly there with your hand up, fractions behind Valerio beforehand. What would you like to add?
In my opinion, Valerio already said pretty much everything here. Yeah, like the beauty of GT Sport is actually how easy the physics are. Like as Valerio mentioned earlier, like you can be away from this game for months pretty much, and then coming back into the game and still being fast. And of course, you still need to drive a little bit to get used to the game, but you can be up there once again. But for, let's say, new players, in order to learn more, it's always the best to drive alongside fast players in a public lobby or so, because there you can also like watch and spectate the other drivers driving on track, so that you can also see like their driving lines, their braking point, and which gear they'll basically take in each corner there. And then once you analyze that, you can pretty much try to put it onto yourself. Like, of course, you still need to try and practice it, but once you did that and also feel comfortable with it in the end, then it's only like you need to drive and then also do these races. And you also need to be motivated, because let's say if you don't go well on you right away, then there may be some people who will feel pretty much, what is it, like about to lose their motivation in the end, like I can't become a fast player. And that's pretty much a trap in the end. Like, you still need to try and be motivated in the end, being patient. And yeah, and it's really the key to drive alongside fast players. And then only if you do that, you can become a better driver, in my opinion. Because there were also like lots of things which I learned from other drivers, and only because of me watching them driving on track. And that's basically who the driver I am today. So that's what I think the young drivers can also do, like also try to communicate with each other. And I think the community of GT is also like pretty beautiful there in the end. I think there are also like other communities out there as well, like iRacing, Assetto Corsa, who are also like pretty respectful and friendly to each other. And I think that's also like the beauty of sim racing in general, like where we are also like still trying to help each other out. And yeah, that's what I like to see.
Yeah. Oh, fantastic. No, that's really good. Now, here's a question that I'm sure will stir the controversy up at a question from a political mind. What is worse, the famous GT Sport penalties or Michael Massey?
Michael Massey.
Yeah.
No question. No question. Easy.
Now you all have to answer one or the other. You know.
I agree. Michael Massey.
Yeah, Michael Massey.
Yeah.
It's called motor racing, guys.
Michael Massey's the Vince McMahon of Formula One.
Yeah.
He's the creative director, not the racing director.
Yeah. So this is quite a good question to ask, because obviously a lot of you guys are Formula One fans who've been watching Formula One for a long time, and now it goes so much alongside sim racing. But I mean, even being fair, the results is the result. Whether we might not like it, to be fair, some of us I know won't like it. Some of us maybe won't be too kind of bothered by it. But do you genuinely? What do you think? And I'll put that to all of you. Do you think that decision? Do you think Michael Massey taking the kind of race into his own hands on a few occasions, not just in Abu Dhabi, but also Saudi Arabia previously? Do you think eventually that was going to cause a problem, or do you think that was just the way the race should have turned out? So were you disappointed, frustrated, or did it not bother you when you watched it on F1? Who would like to go first?
Okay,
Valerio.
I think I'm gonna start. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's say, it was a heartbreaking finish in the end. So that's what, let's say, that's what probably it worked out. But for me, I have like mixed feelings because like some drivers like Lewis or like many other drivers, as well as Latifi, as he got some complaints and also uh, like brutal messages on the social media, and of course on the social media is where everything explodes after these facts. And I think in the end, it could have ended differently. I think following the rules first of all, because many of the latest decisions in the last races were only exclusively in function of the show, and of creating the big drama, and I think that it's only happened lately because, for example, if you watch the first half of the season, it wasn't like that.
Yeah.
Just as they saw that there was the opportunity to bring both Lewis and Max on like tight points before the last race, I think many of the decisions were made just for the show. And that's why, for example, I still admire how Max and Lewis, after all these facts, are still like respecting each other.
Yeah.
And it's just the mixed feelings that now, for example, happen that Lewis, he's taking his silence, and then also other drivers like don't really agree like to share this let's say this end of the championship, as many guys probably thought, okay, it's better to like end with a fight on track, or let's say without having the FIA to always decide for you. And let's say we can also see, for example, the decision about letting the guys, only the guys in front of Verstappen, pass the leader car, which was Lewis in that case, to just give the final lap between Max and Lewis, which is of course what all the people wanted. But in the end, it's not like, I feel it was like a change to the rules, like on the moment, and so it's not like, I feel like it's not so regular what they did in deciding the let's say the end of the race. But I hope that just for example in the future, this is not a sign for the future races, because I think, as many people would think, is to change the direction first of all, and to see more action on the track instead of stewarding actions. And that's what I also hope to see in the next years.
Excellent. And who would like to add to that? Anyone else think?
Yeah, for me. For me, the FIA this year was an absolutely joke. Absolutely. We had the greatest F1 season that we ever had, and we have to thank the drivers for that. But for me, the FIA was simply a joke this year by the decision, and I feel like that the last lap on Abu Dhabi was making just for the show, and not have. But for me, they didn't take a right decision at the end. I support a lot Max. I'm a pro Max Verstappen. I love this driver, but I feel really sad for Lewis too, because Lewis was leading all the time the race. Obviously, a crash happened. So about Latifi, it's racing. A crash can happen at any time. But yeah, personally, when you take a decision, so I speak about the FIA, you have to respect this decision and not change 1 minute later your decision. Rules are rules, and you have to respect that. And FIA didn't respect their proper rules on this day, and this is why I feel very sad for Lewis, because in my opinion he deserved more to win the race by what he showed during all the race. But at the same time, we cannot say that Max don't deserve to be champion, in my opinion, because he was dominate the first half of the season just by some crazy race from him, and the second one was of course from Lewis. He did an amazing comeback, and Lewis is Lewis, so I was not surprised to see him making a fantastic comeback like this. But yeah, at the end, I don't know how feel right now Lewis about losing the championship, but I feel like he will come back much stronger next year, because on Abu Dhabi he did absolutely everything. He done everything. He gave everything. He did absolutely right on during the whole race. He was leading, and he will win the race. Obviously, if Latifi crash will not happen, obviously. But sometimes, in motor racing, you need luck, and the luck was more for Max on this day, and this is why he win the race and also the championship, because the luck was on his side and lost not on Lewis' side. I support Max, but I will be very happy to see a very good comeback and a stronger Lewis next year.
Excellent. To Mike Rodgers, I know you're a big F1 fan. What would you say to that as well?
You really want to know?
Don't worry, we're not monetized, so it's all right.
I won't swear, but I thought it was the most disappointing end to one of the best F1 seasons I've seen in a long time. I think they could have handled it a lot better. I'm a neutral in F1. It didn't bother me. If Max would have won it, I'd have been fine about it. If Lewis would have won it, I'd have felt exactly the same. It wouldn't have made any difference to me. But the way they handled it at the end, I would have rather they would have stopped the race and started, so they both had the chance to be on the same tyre at the end and have a couple of laps at the end rather than what they did. It left a really bitter taste in my mouth. I came away thinking that I didn't want to watch F1 next year. I just thought if it's going to go down the route of WWF, I don't want to see it, or WWE or whatever it's called. I'm not interested, because I like it to be organic, and it was an amazing season. Like I said, both drivers deserve to win it. But to manufacture a last lap shootout in that fashion, I thought was awful. And I mean, I didn't want Mercedes to overturn the decision. I didn't want it to happen off the track at the end, a couple of weeks after the fact, But I thought they had a good case at one point. I thought, wow, this might get overturned. And I also thought to myself, if I was Max Verstappen, although I'd be happy to win the championship, but would I really be 100% deep down happy with winning in that fashion? Maybe would people like to win at all costs? I don't know, but it marred it for me, to be honest. It marred it, and I'm not surprised Lewis has gone missing. I'm not surprised he didn't turn up to the FIA award ceremony. I don't blame him. If I was him, I'd have been extremely pissed off as well. So hopefully he'll return next year, and he won't pack it in. I think he's got a couple of years left in him. So let's hope he can come back and win his 8th title and surpass Schumacher and put it all behind him. But yeah, a joke.
Yeah. And to you, Kireth, and then I'll come to you, Deadeyedelboy, as well.
Yeah, I completely agree with Larry and Baptiste that, I think it's fairly obvious that at the beginning of the season there was some kind of mandate for the FIA to kind of intervene at points to make the season very exciting. I don't think they're necessarily being biased, but they all seem to kind of favour who's behind in the championship to kind of level it. And it's maybe no surprise with Liberty and Netflix deal, and Formula One is going to become more popular because it makes front pages where the back pages. Although what I would say as kind of a devil's advocate, we're all racing. By the way, the biggest thing I think is issue about this is the way that the rules are being pushed. And I'm sure that when I go karting next season, there's a few of my karting teammates in the chat, I'm going to get squeezed off at corners because people are going to say, well, Max Verstappen did that at Interlagos and it was fine. And because there's no this, we look up to F1 as kind of the pinnacle of the motorsport pyramid. And if they're getting away with an F1, it's going to filter down. But anyway, just what was getting confused, if Latifi had crashed a lap earlier, this would all be irrelevant because that's just hard luck. I think that Baptiste was saying. I think there's a lot of very casual people that think, oh, this was so unfair, the safety car and on the last lap, and that's intrinsically unfair. But safety cars are unfair. They eradicate your gap. So I'm actually kind of at peace with it because I feel like if Latifi had crashed a lap earlier, it'd be the same result. I think Michael Massey should have just let all the cars go through. Yeah. I think that would have solved it. But I think it's pretty obvious now that F1 is going to be about growing it commercially. I just don't know how do they sustain it. We all remember as F1 fans, you have seasons that are really boring. You have periods that are really boring. Some of Lewis Hamilton's seasons, some of Michael Schumacher's seasons. Are they now going to try and manufacture entertainment every season? How do all these people that are coming to watch it now because of the drama and TikTok and everything, how are they going to keep them in next season if there's a car that's really dominant because of rule changes? I don't know. The kind of F1 is changing. That's part and parcel of it. And it is, I think, as Mike was saying, it's now got a bit close on the WWE spectrum, but it's entertaining. So I don't know. Maybe this is where sim racing comes in. Because sim racing, you have coded sets of rules. You can't have an FIA to intervene and stuff like that. Apart from in the World Tour, you have stewards. But, for us in the FIA and GT Sport, the rules are coded. So sim racing seems fairer than F1, which is a bit weird, but there we are.
I suppose if you never know if Haas does well next year with the rule changes, you might have Mazepin causing all sorts of issues, and because he's already done that when he's been a back marker, hasn't he? He's been getting in the way and causing all sorts of issues
on and off the track, doesn't he?
Yeah, that can be quite fun to add a bit of excitement to the whole thing. And finally, to you, Derek, what was your take?
I mean, Mike basically said exactly how I feel about the whole thing. It was literally word for word what I was thinking. It just felt like a Netflix decision, which I couldn't actually believe. It was one of those moments in sport where you stop what you're doing. Sometimes F1's on in the background and you're on your phone. You're just kind of doing other stuff. Yeah. That's what F1's like. I play golf and I watch a lot of golf. Golf's like that. It's on in the background, and then you hear the commentator's voice raise, and you rewind back and find what you missed. So this was one of those moments where it happened, and then the commentary team they started to alert you to what was about to unfold, and you pause. You shout on your wife, who couldn't care less about Formula One, and tell her to come into the room so you can start explaining to her what's about to happen here, and she's just looking at you like, what? You've never spoken to me about Formula One in your life, and you're like trying to give her a complete rundown of the season so far in 60 seconds so that she can understand when this safety car goes off, what we're about to witness is going to be history one way or the other, good or bad. Yeah. And that was the way it felt. Now, I was gutted for Lewis, and like Mike, I didn't really care who won, but I was really gutted for him. But what I would say is that if we were sim racing, if Baptiste, Valerio, or Mikail were in the World Tour finals and a similar situation happened there, and as Kireth just said, it's coded so it can't, but if a similar situation happened and the stewards had the ability to say, right, this can happen, and Mikail's leading and Valerio jumps in and gets a fresh set of softs on and there's nothing Mikail can do about it and they're about to go to the last lap, how would you feel if you won or lost that? Would you feel like you really won? And if you lost it, you would just be so doubly gutted that it would. I just think that if you put yourself in one of those drivers' positions, it's just there's a sense of injustice or a sense of maybe unfulfilled. I won, but did I win? That one of those moments.
Yeah. No, absolutely. But would you like Valerio to answer that question?
Yeah, why not?
Well, yeah, I mean, I can just agree what you're saying because, as I said, like, if we had to end the race, I would like to end the race on the track with ourselves battling. And for myself, battling especially something that charges me on a lot. I always try to search for a fight and, to try and, let's say, discover ourselves while driving. And yeah, having obviously someone to decide for you, for your race. And at the end, at the last lap, and I just agree with what you're saying because obviously nobody wants someone like to control your race, especially in a grand final occasion. It will happen the same if we had this kind of stewarding in our races. Let's say hopefully that doesn't happen, but if it really happens, I mean, for sure, I will feel like Lewis or like many other guys that obviously wouldn't want to end a race like that. So for sure, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Now we did get a question earlier on, but as we were talking about Formula One, I wasn't quite able to bring it up, but it was about GT7. And as of you have many of you here have got a bit of influence on GT7, or maybe know a little bit more about GT7 than we do, I thought it was quite an appropriate one. And as the question was from R.A. Shadow, and it says here, with all we know about GT7, what would be your number one update request that we don't know about? Kireth, I'll put that to you first.
I think it's got to be. I'm going to bundle it in, but bigger grids and driver swaps. If it's bigger grids and driver swaps, that absolutely does it for me. It's going to be the GOAT game. So that's it. That's all I wanted actually. More dynamic weather, which you've got bigger grids, driver swaps.
Fantastic. And to you, Mikail.
I think the track editor, that would be quite nice to basically create your own tracks, like we were able to do it in Gran Turismo 5 and 6 back then. That was lots of fun for me at least.
Yeah. And to you, Baptiste.
The night on every track.
So night races on every track. That would be quite good.
Yeah.
And to you, Valerio.
Probably the drift competition modes, like having also, let's say, apart the normal FIA races, I will also add probably like drift, like the drift FIA competition or something like that. Because I'm a huge fan of drifting. My idol is TSu Tsu in this case, and I feel like that in the past also Gran Turismo had many drifting modes, but probably it wasn't. Let's say it wasn't so played by the players, of course, and yeah, I would like to see something like that. Also to see, let's say, the different categories of the different styles of racing, and for me, drifting will be one of it. Yeah.
Fantastic. No, that's great. Well, we've been going for just over an hour now, which is amazing, and I do thank you all for incredible contributions. So, what I'll say in closing, who would like to ask each other some questions that you haven't done so far that you think will be appropriate for the show, or if you just want to cause a bit of fun and poke a bit of fun at each other, feel free to do so. Who would like to go first?
That's one serious one before we get all silly and fun.
Certainly.
Which is, I think, something that everyone watching will be really interested to know about, which is penalty system. So what do people think about how the penalty system should be in GT7? Because at the moment it's virtually off. which I think is really good for top split when people are behaving themselves, but it's very chaotic for lower splits. So I'm really interested to know what people think about what the penalty system should be in GT7.
Big
I
sigh.
think
Well, during the FIA competition in general, we have the steward, FIA steward, so we don't have the penalty from the game, which is good, and also not good sometimes because you cannot be agree every time with the steward. But for me, I feel like, especially in top split, for an example, I would like to have 20 clean drivers every time. That cannot happen every time, obviously, because it's racing, and racing, even in sim racing, we got some contact, some crash. That's racing, and that's all. But for me, it's not too hard to try to not touch someone, or to try to not destroy someone on the track. But I feel like if you trust enough drivers, penalty system will be not be important in the game. The problem is we have to don't think only about the top split, but about the other split too. And on the other split, there is sometimes some dirty players, and some players who are driving very aggressive. And I feel like the penalty system need to stay, because about that you will lose some SR and DR if you do something bad. And this player who be dirty and very aggressive, we never race again the drivers who was here. And in my opinion, it's like on every sim racing game, we need a penalty system, but a very good one, not the same as GT Sport, who was updated every month, and that never worked. We was always complain about that. So if I want to do a penalty system on GT7 too, we need this time not a perfect one, but a very good one. And I don't know how it's hard to do it, obviously, but I feel like, for example, when I race again Mikail or Valerio or someone else that I trust, I know that in general the battle will do that we will do gonna finish in general pretty well, because we respect our space each other. We respect our different strategy, and I will definitely not try to destroy, for example, Mikael just for save my play, something like that, because I respect the drivers. So for me, if that stay like this, I don't need a penalty system, because I trust Mikael about what he's gonna try on me, and it's the same for Mikael in return. And for an example, so, but
but do I trust you?
That's the brotherhood, guys.
But there is a lot of players on GT, a lot of different split, and I feel like that yes, we need a penalty system on GT7, but this time a very good one. And Polyphony has speak about that. I believe that they will do a penalty system, a better penalty system for GT7. So I want to see that, and hopefully it's gonna be good for everyone. Everyone will not like it, of course, but I feel like that's gonna be better for GT Sport, because I feel like that Polyphony learn about that, and I think Polyphony start to be tired to do an update every month about the penalty system. So I'm pretty confident about what they're gonna do for GT7 about that.
Fantastic. Now I know, Mike, you had your hand up as well there, so we'll.
No, I think everything was covered. I don't think I've got anything else to add. The only thing I would take away from the penalty system on GT7, and I know I don't play Gran Turismo Sport, so my opinion doesn't really count as much as you guys, but I would take away the stupid gates. You know, when you get a penalty and you go through the gates and it slows you down and you ghost, I would take that away from the penalty system if you could. Make it a little less arcadey. That's the one thing. I mean, obviously, they never quite got the penalty system right. But yeah, just take that stupid arcadey slow down thing out. I never liked that. And you know, instead of giving you a 0.5 second or a second penalty for track limits, just get like 3 strikes and you get a drive through like you do in ACC. I think it's much fairer, you know, and I don't think you suffer any more for it. But yeah, never liked the penalty gates when you got slowed down. I just found it a bit too arcadey. But
yeah,
it's me.
And how about you, Derek?
Yeah, I mean, that's interesting that Mike says that, because before I played GT Sport, I watched a lot of people playing GT Sport. So I kind of watched them playing when it was the penalty system was just that you had to kind of slow down yourself over the course of the race, which I always found slightly bizarre, watching people driving full speed up to the line and then braking and getting rid of a penalty and then crawling over a line. You know, it was just weird. So when the penalty gate came in, I kind of understood. I thought, well, at least it forces people into serving a penalty. They've got no kind of way round about that. But yeah, I think it's you've just got to watch, because GT Sport is so playable and it brings so many people in that, you know, the penalty system can be something that can turn people on or off. If it's too complex, people won't like it. If it's non-existent, people don't like it. It's a very, very difficult. I don't know if they'll ever get it right. That's my fear, because how long GT Sport's been out for nearly 5 years, and it's been changed. It's been on, off, all these different variations of it. Sensitive, not sensitive, but it's just so many variations. And I think to myself, well, if these guys are developing the game, if their job is to try and create a system that works, and after this length of time they don't really have one, I don't know if GT7 is going to have some sort of magic bullet that fixes that problem. I fear that we're just going to have this more of the same. So I'm okay with that. I've kind of resigned myself to that. I'm not expecting GT7 to be much better penalty system wise. I've made my peace with that prospect.
Excellent. Oh, that's good. Excellent answers to a very important question, and great question, Kireth, as to the penalty system, because that was a huge debate on GT Sport really this whole year, isn't it? It's been a massive query that people have had, and some people have left the game because they didn't like it and have gone to other games. Others have persisted with it, but hopefully we'll see it improve with GT7 next year. Now, I've got a question from ERN Nick. He says, if this is for Mikail, he says, how many cookies did you eat today?
Classic certified.
0.
You got some baking there, Mike.
Enjoyed, Mike.
Perfect.
But that's from my side.
This was a question you prepared.
I didn't have a cookie today, so maybe tomorrow I will have one.
You've been healthy. My goodness me, eh?
That baguette now. Not cool.
That was a baguette. No, that's the thing. Now, is there any other questions that you would like to ask each other before we close the show? Anything you'd like to say to each other for the end of the year and in closing, or to annoy any other guests on the show?
Can I just say, back to the question about the YouTuber team? It's one of these things. You could go for a fast YouTuber team or a chaotic YouTuber team. I would always opt for chaos.
Oh, yes. And I have the perfect team.
Well, Kireth would be heading a team of chaos, because something about Kireth's driving style and the way he races and talks and interacts at the same time is effortless. And sometimes sometimes you're watching him accidentally barrel through a bunch of cars at Monza, or somewhere like that. But he does it with grace and explaining it as he does it to people, and he, give you his thoughts on how he's just killed 3 people accidentally. But it does it in a way that you think, Kireth, I think you're right. I think you were okay to do what you did there. All of a sudden it's like, I don't know, it's like he hypnotised you into it. But I would have him, Rory, because Rory, areas he can go from one extreme to the other in a stream. I mean, he can go from the high of winning a race to the absolute despair of finishing last in consecutive races, and that draws me in because you never know what you're going to get, and probably. Key, because he's got a rage in him. It's always there. He suppresses it a lot, and he's doing really well to suppress it as much as he does these days. But it's still there.
Far too happy these days.
Yeah, I preferred old Key when he was angry at everybody.
Key, man.
Yeah. This new improved version's not for. I mean, I love his
streams. He's not fooling anyone, is he?
I know he's not. It's a thinly veiled mask, Mike. We know it is. But yeah, that would be my team of chaos. I don't know if Kireth would be happy to head that team up, but
I'll be more than happy. I'll be the rolling roadblock. You have elegant driving from Mikail, Valerio, Baptiste, and I'll just completely disrupt it. That's what I do best.
Perfect.
Within the new FIA regulations, obviously, what's allowed now. So.
Of course.
Fantastic. Would anyone else like to ask anything to one of the fantastic guests here on the show? Oh, it's going solid.
Can I ask Valerio and Mikail, what is it like when you win the World Tour? Because you work so hard for it. What that exact moment, and Mikail, your reaction, when you won is really iconic. But what's it? Is it just a relief? Do you think about all the hard work? What's it like to win? Because I'll never know. So.
Well, I discovered that I can become a Super Saiyan after winning.
Exactly, man. But for me, how was it? When we do the semi-final races before the grand finals, and if I win the semi-final race or so, I never act like, oh, whoa, I won the race, because I'm still like, okay, you just did the first step, but you still have to do the grand finals in order to win, let's say, the whole championship, or let's say the World Tour event. And during the grand final, anything can happen still, so I still want to try to stay as focused as I can. But during the World Finals in 2019, of course, one of my biggest goals was to win the Nations Cup World Finals. And once I crossed the line, I was like, finally I managed to do it. And I just wanted to release all of my emotions and also enter the Super Saiyan mode. But
fusion.
Yes, fusion. I don't know. I let all of my emotions out. Yeah, and I think that was the result of it.
I don't know if you guys. Oh, sorry. Carry on.
Okay. No, sorry. I mean, it's one of those moments that you won't ever forget. And considering it was just I was just a random player in Gran Turismo, and of course, let's say I had some, a behind the scenes of this rise to become the world champion. But I was still doing races friendly with the friends, but I was still as for much aggressive I was, but let's say I wasn't really caring of my driving style, and that, let's say, started of course at the release of GT Sport. I didn't know anything about the FIA, and once I discovered about it, I said, okay, maybe I have a possibility to do it. But of course the road was long, but I wanted to make it because So like I also got fashioned by someone of the drivers and out there, and after all these efforts and after putting everything all together, and also the motivation that was racing and racing like race after race. um for me it's such a satisfaction. It was a big emotion as well, as you also saw in the streaming. But um I also like the fact that, for example, the world championship ended in the way I wanted. So let's say with some battles on the track, which for me made the win even more spectacular. And so it's not all about the winning the world championship in this case for me, but it's also about really uh, proving that in this time I really consistently worked on myself, and comparing with the other drivers, especially. And yeah, that's why also I want to dedicate, let's say, this win to all the guys out there, the community, and you guys as well, Meek and Baptiste. And because in the end, I had such a strength in myself that like I didn't even expect to have in this case. And like winning the world championship and as well the Olympic Virtual Series in the same year, for me it's just mind blowing. Like
Yeah.
yeah, so that's it.
Fantastic. I mean, I'm sure when the live events return, now we're going to be watching and anticipating what your celebrations will be like when you get up onto the podium. And I don't know if you guys ever saw, there was a magnificent video way back in, I think it was 93, I think it was, when Ayrton Senna won in Brazil, and he struggled to get out of the car. Of course, he'd only won, I think, in Brazil once before, as he was able to do it in his McLaren Ford. And he could barely get out of the car. I think he had cramps and all sorts of things. But when he struggled and he got out, and he got onto the podium, and you could see the tears coming down his eyes, and he could barely hold the trophy. And when he got up onto the top step of the podium, and he made that last push to put the trophy up into the air, it was something, of course. And who was the person who gave him the trophy? But Manuel Fangio was the chap who gave him the trophy. So you can imagine what that experience must be like. Did you ever have a kind of dream as to how you would celebrate it on a podium if you win a big event, as to what you would do or what it would be like?
Yeah, of course. Like, let's say, I wanted to celebrate in real life in a real world tour. So let's say, being at home, let's say it didn't really like the emotions didn't really explode as you would as they were supposed to be. So but yeah, I will first of all celebrate with all the guys, because for me, like, company comes in the first place in these cases, the company, the friendships, and the people behind these races. And yeah, I really hope to see also the world tours coming back again very soon. I still keep the fingers crossed, because like, I see that the time, like, the moment is getting closer, but at the same time it can get like even far away. So obviously it all depends by the situations we're living in, but we have to accept it. But yeah, in the end, I would really like to celebrate with all the people I met and the people I know. And for me, it's just friendship in the first place.
Fantastic. Now we've got a great question which we can finish off on from J1N G3R. It's to Susu. How much do you hate the chicane of death? I gather this must be critically important.
Well, some people already asked me if it was a mistake from pressure or just a mistake like the chicane just destroy me. I will be honest, it was pressure. I take a wrong line when I take the chicane, and I hit the wall just by myself. And I know at this moment that I was just losing the race because my soft tire was completely done. I think I was the player who did the most number of laps with the soft tire. So, but yeah, it carried the chicane of that not for nothing. I mean, especially with this car, and with this DOP, it was really hard, really hard to be consistent on the chicane of death. We was all the time scared to take it, and it was almost impossible to take it perfectly at every lap because it was taking too much risk at the same time. And this is exactly the place that you have to secure, because if you crash, you crash. It's done, and your race is over. I don't think a chicane like this will be created one day in real life. It's too dangerous, to be honest. But yeah, it was my mistake, by pressure. But I still didn't know that at this time I will have podium, so the third place overall if I win the race. But at the end, I don't care. I mean, I really enjoyed this race. It was a fun one, and I feel like for the other drivers, it was a fun race too, because I didn't see any drama on the race. It was really respectful between everyone. Just something happened to the Japanese driver Kawakami, but between the drivers, nothing bad happened, and this is exactly what we want on GT Sport. Very fair play battle between all of us. Today, by the World Tour event, we already meet everyone, so we have a good relation between everyone. So much respect, and this is what I said just before about the penalty system. If you trust your guy, your rival on the track, you don't need a penalty system, like because one day I know, and this is exactly what I did at the first lap of the race. I remember I did a mistake. I pushed on the final corner on the first lap Kokobun. And I decided to just lift and give him back the position, because I know if I will not do it, I will have a penalty, and I will be sad at the same moment, because I want to overtake in fair play. And I mean, I was spoke about the penalty system, because I know if one day, if, for example, Mikail want to overtake me, he will do, but he was too aggressive and push me off. He will wait me. He will wait me and give me back the position. And this is exactly the behavior that every guys have to go out, even in sim racing. And but yeah, just about this chicane, I never like this chicane. I will never like this chicane, and I mean, everyone already crashed on this chicane. I think that's impossible to say. You are a liar if you say to me that you will never crash on the chicane. That's impossible. So yeah, it happened.
But I think that's what makes sim racing so special, because everyone watching will have crashed that chicane, and you three are our heroes. You're aliens. But the fact that you said it was pressure and you crashed, it reminds us that you're still human, and it connects the whole thing from anyone who downloads the game for the first time and crashed that chicane to you at the very top. And the other thing that's very inspirational, you've spoken about fair play, and that even if the same punch system, you would wait for Mikail. We're so lucky that that you players at the top of the game set this great example, because it doesn't need to be like that. You could all be ruthless, you could all be win at all costs. But the fact that you set this example about fair play, it really does filter on the system, because you are heroes, you are idols. So we want to race like you. So I think you said two really special things there about how you also had a precious moment, because we all suffer from pressure way more than you do. How you try to race fairly. I think that says so much about sim racing. About GT. We're very lucky in GT Sport. I think it's a really, really nice community. I hope it really continues GT7.
Yeah, I perfectly agree. And behind this rivalry that we got each other, we are a great family. We call that the GT family. We meet us we meet each other a lot of time in the world, and when we race against each other, it's always a pleasure. I mean, we have so much respect, and I really hope that on the other split, people can live the same, because it's so much fun. You can definitely more enjoy the game when the rival that you have on your side respect you, your space, also your different strategy, and this is exactly personally what I start the PS5 and the game. Sometimes it's just have some great battle and not some drama. If I don't win the race, it's okay. But if during the race I really enjoy it, I will have some great battle, I will be so happy, because it's exactly what I play Gran Turismo. So I have some great battle, fun, and some great comment between us at the end. And yeah, I mean, it's we can't have a clean race every time. I know everyone got a different driving style. Someone will be more aggressive, etc., etc., and I respect that. But yeah, today I feel like that we have a very good relationship in general. GT got a crazy community that they have to keep absolutely, and to improve. And I think they will do something very great about GT7, and I feel really like that the community for GT7 will grow up, because the sim racing now interests more people, I believe. And about the young players and the new player in top split, they a lot of the drivers show in general a great example, great fair play already, and which is good. It's not the same for everyone, but I already raced against some new name, and it was a pleasure to race against them, because I didn't know them before. They're already fast. I had a great battle with them, and that is exactly show you what type of man he will be in the future on in top split, in the competition. And yeah, for me, it cannot be perfect everywhere, but I prefer keep the best moment during this last years on GT Sport, and not only the drama moment. You will have some frustration, obviously, when you do some competition like the FIA. You can't win everything. You can't have a podium everywhere. That's I will not say impossible, but almost. And everyone already got some frustration during the competition, like Valerio, like Mikail, because Mikail has waiting so many times to win his first World Tour, and that's current motor racing. So you have to wait and see it. That's all. Yeah.
I mean, Masi will agree with that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, look, I realise now every time I say I'm trying to close the show, we get another great question. But it's been going on an hour and a half, and I know that many of you guys are a good hour or two ahead of us in terms of timing. So it must be getting pretty late where you guys are. But a huge round of applause and appreciation for you guys all coming on the show tonight. It's been amazing to have all the fantastic guests that you've all come on, put time aside, and what an incredible range of insight we've had from you all tonight, which is just fantastic. And it really, all I can say is thank you so much. We wish you all the best for 2022. May it be even more successful than you've had this year. And it's just, you're always welcome to come back on the show and to speak to us about what's been happening. But it's been an absolute laugh and just a fantastic night of just insight as to what it's like to be a top sim racer, and with our guys as well here, our YouTubers from all over the globe we've had tonight, whether they be large or small, I think it's been a great chance to ask questions, and to everyone watching as well. It's been amazing to have your questions and contributions, which has been super. Now, I know that Chupagetti, who is in the chat there as well, says he's even brought the cookies for Mikail, but he's going to have to somehow put them through the internet
Thanks, mate.
to get them to you. But no, it's been absolutely fascinating to have you on the show, and this will be recorded as a podcast as well that will come out in a few days' time, and I'll give you all the links so that you can put it onto your social media. But it really comes down to our famous phrase. Now, I wonder how many of you know our famous phrase on the Car Sim and Race Driver show, as a few of you have been on a few times. Who would like to close the show with our famous phrase?
I think Valerio should give us an outro. He gave us an intro. I want to hear the outro.
Okay, right.
Easy.
Merci, au revoir, je t'aime.
I'm going to record that. But to everyone who's watching and listening here you've been watching the Car Sim and Race Driver show with our incredible night of special guests. We've had Mikail Hizal, we've had Kireth Kart, we've had Valerio Gallo, Baptiste Beauvoir, Mike Rodgers Racing, and Deadeyedelboy. It's been an honour to have you on the show. Please stay on the line. But to everyone else who's watching, drive fast and try not to crash. And if you do, you might just win the race at the first corner. Bye just now.